The Museum Roadshow is brought to you by Carvinens.
I'm Becky Mitchell from the Becker County Museum. Welcome to the Museum Roadshow. We are doing something fun for a third week throwback. We're digging into the archives from the museum with past directors and past speakers and doing what we do best here, learning from the past. Hope you enjoy the show.
Hi, my name is Dean Sather with the Becker County Historical Society, and you'll notice I'm sitting out here in the middle of the exhibit hall with nothing specific around me. And it's kind of fitting that I'm sitting here out in the middle of nowhere because I'm kind of going out on a limb today. We're going to be talking about a topic that I can truthfully say I'm rather deficient in knowledge. I know you're all sitting out there in shocked disbelief saying, he doesn't know anything about this? But it's something that really hasn't been a large part of my life, but I realize is an extremely important part of other people's lives. And that's sporting events, athletics. Now you might be able to tell by my physique that perhaps I'm not the most athletic individual in the world, but now that I have 3 sons, I have a feeling that I will be getting into it very shortly. So won't you join me today as we talk about some of the sporting events that we see going on here in Becker County and the role that they've played in history. We'll be right back. Athleticism has always played an important role. Almost from the time that Europeans first set foot on this continent, there have been games played or sporting activities that people have engaged themselves in. And of course, we're no different up here. And we often govern a large part of our life around the athletics that go on here. Now, this topic, although not my forte, if you will, in terms of what I'm able to speak about, is particularly important, especially following the events of Sunday. Something I believe they call the Super Bowl occurred on Sunday. Well, as we look back and look at some of the collections that we have here in the museum, we can see that the athleticism of the population of Becker County has always been something of extreme importance. Now, what I have here are just a few examples of some of the things that we have here. Photographs. We've talked about photographs before, and they're an extremely vital part of our collection. But what's fun about some of these is the wide breadth and depth of some of the athletic activities that are shown here going on in Becker County. Now, this first one here is a front line of a football team from the high school in 1915. Now, what we really enjoy about this is the fact that all of the individuals on this photograph are identified. Now, those of you who have heard me talk before, this is a very important aspect of what we're doing here because we can find out about the families and the people that are in this photograph. And knowing about their involvement in the athletics helps us flesh out that picture a little bit more. How many of these people might have also been in choir or in music or became civic leaders later on in their careers or their lives here in Becker County. Here's another wonderful photograph of a 1902 football team. Now, the interesting thing here is the difference in the attire here. We can see the changes in the athletic wear that people are going through. Now, unfortunately, unlike this picture, we don't know exactly who these people are, but we're hoping that as we go through our records, we'll be able to find information, possibly even yearbooks or annuals from the school district at this point, and be able to find out who the people on that photograph are. But it's not just sports such as baseball, basketball, or anything like that. It's also some of the other sporting events that go on here in Becker County. Now, we've talked about fishing, but what about hunting? Of course, that is something that has always played an important role in Becker County. Numerous hunting lodges or hunting camps sprouted up throughout Becker County, beginning almost back in the 1880s, as soon as people showed up here. It kind of transformed from something that was of vital importance for people to live and survive in this area to something that is recognized as more of a luxury and a valuable event in people's annual event. My uncle is a great hunter. He loves hunting, and he looks forward to those events in his life. Now, of course, it's not just basketball, football, but golf. Got a lot of golf courses around town, and they too are something that are of vital importance. The Pine to Palm tournament that occurs here every year. My grandfather participated in that tournament on several occasions, something that he held very close to himself. Basketball teams, oh, that's football again, excuse me. Baseball teams, here's the Detroit baseball team, and I believe this is from about 1903, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, the football team again. The role athleticism has played in Becker County is extremely important because it entered into several different aspects of lives around here. We have the high school teams. We also have a lot of the depth and breadth of the people involved, boys and girls involving themselves in this. But it's also the pickup games that are extremely important and that are a very vital story to tell about Becker County. Sorry. One of the fascinating things that we've come across over the past year was a school reunion that occurred over at the Home Center. The main meeting was held over there, and several of the people that attended that reunion came and visited us here at the museum. And one of the things that they noticed, and something that was an extremely important thing to point out, was the lack of the representation of athleticism going on here in Becker County. And the reason it was so near and dear to the people that visited us that day was because of the initiative taken by the people of that grade, of that time period, back in the 30s and 40s. Before they had intercollegiate or municipal or even organized civic athletic teams, a group of kids from Detroit Lakes formed baseball teams. 2 teams, one on the north side, one on the south side. And they started playing pickup games and kind of running their own tournaments. And they organized themselves to such a degree that they were able to raise money and buy uniforms for these activities, and they became fairly well known. Now, not knowing about this, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn about the athletics here in Becker County and learn more about what people did during their lives, how they organized their lives, what they did to entertain themselves and to have fun and interact with other people. We're hoping that in the very near future we'll be able to collect some of this information, team pictures, maybe one of the uniforms that they created or bought, and learn more about the history of the teams that just kind of sprouted up here in Becker County. It's part of that story that we like to tell because it's not something that we immediately have reference to, but it's vital memories and something that people hold very dear to their hearts. And so we're hoping that very near future, we will be able to put that exhibit together and have another story to tell. Now, it's not just the pickup games, it's not just the high school sports. We've had a lot of history developed around that, but also some of the key important players in the professional realm as well. Now, the first one that I'd like to bring up is a gentleman by the name of Charles Albert Bender, who's also known as Chief Bender. Now, this is a gentleman who started playing professional baseball right around the turn of the century in 1900. As a matter of fact, in 1902, he was at an exhibition game, and he so impressed an individual who's probably well known to many baseball fans that he was signed for a contract immediately. The man who signed him to that contract was Connie Mack. Now, what's interesting to point out about Charles Albert Bender, or Chief Bender, was that he was a native of White Earth, and he was a product of White Earth Reservation. And it was fascinating to think that he's also one of the earliest Native Americans to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He had a long, illustrious career, often playing with the A's, and coming into contact with people like Pop Warner. Now, the products of the athletic capabilities of Becker County doesn't stop there. Joey Guyon also played professional football and had a long, illustrious career, not only in playing the football, but also coaching baseball and coaching Little League baseball and other non-professional football teams. And like Albert Bender, Charles Albert Bender, he was also inducted into the Hall of Fame. The stories that go on between these two gentlemen and some of the early history of athletics in Becker County are parts of that vital story, because you talk to a lot of people who have had athleticism in their background and they'll say it played a vital part in developing their lives and their careers that they followed. And just as those stories are important to the individuals who participated in the athletics, so are the stories of those athletic teams. The football games, the baseball games, the basketball games, the rivalries between other teams in other parts of our state or other parts of our region. Those become important stories to tell and important memories and artifacts to keep. And we hope that in the very near future, we'll be able to compile all this information and be able to tell the story of the important role that athletics, sporting, and all of these events have had in developing Becker County. It's not just something that people did to entertain themselves. It helped build the community, bring people together, and if we look at the hunting and fishing, it's had a vital role in the economic development of our community. So I guess one of the things that I'd like to say is you can listen to me ramble on here about a topic that I really don't know a lot about, or you can help me out. bring those things into the museum. Help us tell that story and help us get that exhibit put together. It's something that I'm very interested in because I'd like to learn more about that. I'd like to find out more about the history of Becker County so that other people like me who probably know very little about this topic will have a place to go so they can learn about it. My name is Dean Sather, and this has been an extremely small amount of history of Becker County. I'd like to ask you to help me make it a larger part of Becker County history. Thank you very much.
I hope you've enjoyed today's show of the third week throwback here at the Becker County Museum, where we've dug into the archives, found those old stories of history and shared them with you. And it's a good reminder, make sure and come in, share our stories, share your stories with us so we have them for our future generations.
Thanks for watching the Museum Roadshow, brought to you by Carvinens.